everybody to this special Ugly American Sports on Rowdy Live. Yes, indeed, welcome you to what probably is going to be our now regular full-time full-time broadcast day, as we'll look to move to Friday nights probably for the regular foreseen future. Although we probably will regularly start a bit earlier, probably looking into the future to start at around 8 p.m. Central Time. But we've got a few good reasons for starting at this time. Once again, joined here by Brandon Helms, and we have a very special edition tonight, as we are going to be live casting for you the final regular season game of our alma mater, the UT-Arlington Mavericks, as they travel way up to the great Northwest for a school that really has no business being in the same conference as a team from North Texas, because we're not Major League Baseball or anything, but they are taking on Seattle University in the final regular season weekend of the Western Athletic Conference. And I do know for a fact that my colleague here, my partner in arms, is looking very much forward to this. If anything, just because this game is going to be played in a location that you seem to have a great fondness for.
Well, first off, let's kind of rewind the clock. Feels like we're 25 years ago. We're about to informally broadcast a college sporting event. We haven't done that since 2002.
Maybe for those of us not aware, the two of us, like I said, alums of the University of Texas Arlington, and what was back then one of the very first internet radio stations out there. We actually did do a lot of broadcasting of UT-Arlington basketball and baseball back in those years, and that's just really it is. Yeah, it's almost kind of a full circle thing. Just how much live internet broadcasting of sports has just exploded in probably these past nearly 20 years.
Yeah, back then my North Texas colleagues would be like, hey, you don't even have a broadcast signal, and now it's just kind of how it is. So it's funny what difference time makes for this kind of thing, and funny to think you and I were kind of pioneers in that regard. Now, I'm not saying that if we hadn't joined in, it wouldn't be where it is today. We're by no means, nothing's going to be in the history books, but it's just funny to think about just the difference in time and the changes that occur, and something that, like buying online, who would have thought, in 1995, you buy online, that's stupid. Of course, now we all do it. So.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's it. It's just a pure example about how everything has changed here, because back when we were broadcasting, our school was in a very consolidated conference in the Southland. Like, all of our participants, I think by that time, maybe we had one school in Arkansas, but maybe they
didn't join until 2007. No, Nicholls State and Southeastern
Louisiana.
Yeah, it was either furthest.
It was all it wasn't then. Everything was contained in the likes of the states of Texas and Louisiana. Our conference was. Now UT is playing in this team where they've got a few other Texas opponents, but it seems like half the conference is in Utah. We got at least. We're working with a private for-profit school in Arizona, one down in Southern California, and then the one school that's here in up in Seattle. We're gonna try to see if we can. We're just gonna put the game on. I'm actually gonna put I'm gonna put a link to the broadcast here in the chat for anyone who is watching. Do this. So hopefully everyone. You'll be able to. But yeah, we're not going to be actually. We won't be telecasting the actual broadcast on the stream, but we will be, like I said, giving you guys a link to watch along with us to anyone who is actually tuning in. But like I said, and now here is, I guess the funniest thing is that back in our day, let's just say at the very least, if we were playing this game against a school like Seattle U, back when we were students, there might at least actually be some type of debate as to who was in the better facility back then.
You kind of alluded to it. So I'll throw out the curtain, or throw back the curtain. I don't know, maybe I'm throwing out too many
irony there when you know what we used to play.
Yep. But there's message board for WAC sports, and it has actually a lot of conferences on there. And Seattle has one poster on there. Well, I guess they have two, but real active one. And he's kind of a D-bag. So the average rivalry that everybody else has, just a little bit more for me, just because of that guy right there. But Seattle's kind of an interesting school. They have, a very isolated position in the top corner of the country, but they're also a private school with terrible facilities across every sport. And the reason why they were in the WAC is the WAC needed bodies back in UTA's first time, and nobody has wanted them, so they've kept their home in the WAC. They are isolated. When Idaho moved out especially, they're like something close to 1,000 miles from the nearest conference rival. And their facilities are awful, so they're not going to rectify that unless like a Gonzaga moves out in the West Coast.
And you can't even use the private school argument there. Like I said, like you just mentioned Gonzaga, they're a private university.
Yep.
What's it? We're in the same. Both of us are in the same conference as Grand Canyon University, which, for the record, is not just a private school; it's a for-profit school.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people in the WAC have problems with them just because of that.
And that was another case where the WAC needed bodies, but they actually really helped the competitiveness of the WAC. They made it the number 11th hardest conference in the NCAA men's basketball, and that was a year when New Mexico State was last in the conference, not even giving their usual quality performance, and they still finished 11th. So, there's a lot of quality schools here, and Seattle's actually having a good year. But while we wait for the broadcast to start, pull up the UT men's basketball tweet. We're going to introduce yourself to Red Hawk Arena.
Okay.
And you're talking about that rivalry between Old Texas Hall.
You've got it right up here. We'll up close here.
Yes, keep scrolling. I'll tell you when we get there. But for those who don't know, Texas Hall is a theater stage.
Yeah, well, I'll talk more about that. But
yeah, keep going. But there's kind of a look right there. But they have a little. Is this the men's? Yeah, there it is, right there. So you can click on those pictures. Is this on the stream?
Should be, yeah.
That is their main gym. UTA's practice gym almost seats as much as this. There are two universities in Division I that are smaller capacity than this. This is 999 seats. UTA on Texas Hall, the bleacher side, sat 600.
Yeah, for those not aware, like I was alluding to, prior to 2012, our school, UT-Arlington, this is not hyperbole here. They played in a theater, an actual auditorium where the playing court was laid out on the stage. That place, and there was a lot of jokes about it, although biggest joke is the fact that we actually got named best place to watch college basketball by Sports Illustrated in 1997. I think I still have a copy of that issue someplace.
Those theater seats were comfortable.
Yeah, but the main thing is that, but you just point this out, like, even that facility, they sat anywhere from like 3,800 to 4,200 in that range somewhere. It varied.
If I'm not mistaken, the theater side sat 3,600 and the bleacher side sat 600, giving the 42.
Even if
my belief.
Yeah, even if you went with the low estimate of 3,600, that's still nearly 3,000 more than this place. And this is the first time I'm actually getting a full showing of this.
And so there's the student section right there. Welcome to the red zone. And the only thing I could think of on the fact that the Red Hawks, that they have to call it the red zone, is in order for this facility to have any sort of impact on the game, you have to leave red because you screamed all day. Look at that. That's Strahan Coliseum. UT-RGV Fieldhouse gives you more room on the baseline.
I was about to bring this up because just the two of us, because we travel to road games a lot for the UT Babs and stuff, we've seen some very, let's call them subpar facilities in our case, especially back in the days of the old Southland Conference. You mentioned up Strahan Coliseum at what's now known as Texas State and San Marcos. You were never that fond of it because it had this one big, huge wall on one side. But even then it was still more or less a horseshoe size where you had seats on the other side of it. Flip that over to about 30 miles or so down the road there, the Convocation Center at UT San Antonio, that had two walls on each side.
Yeah, and UT-RGV Fieldhouse is really similar to that. That's kind of the old school.
And so is the place at Tarleton State University that we just went to this past season down in Stephenville, Texas.
Yeah, they're replacing theirs, thankfully.
Then you've got, you mentioned this earlier, a place like Northwestern State University in Louisiana. They play in basically an an airplane hangar.
So
it was
I looked it up.
redeveloped for basketball.
I really thought that it was an old hangar at one point, but it's not. They built it like that. It wasn't strictly for basketball
Okay,
at the
well,
time.
there we go.
But yeah, it wasn't actually a hangar, but that's how much it looks like. Like I really thought it was.
And you've been to some places like Nickel State and everything as well. So let's see if we can reset this. See if it. As we're talking, I'm just.
Oh yeah, 9:05 should have started.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're gonna see on this live stream at some point you're gonna see the roof.
Okay, good thing it's already been muted here, so we're just gonna, like I said, we'll just give you probably as unprofessional of a play-by-play as we could possibly give.
I mean,
you.
what is this, like 8 seats until you hit the wall? Like 8 rows?
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't look good, but we got cash tipping off.
Yeah, I'll admit that, yeah.
I mean, Shamar's not in the game.
Yeah, I am looking at this, and like I said, to be perfectly honest, yeah, I think the gym at my high school, James Martin High, probably got more.
High school gyms beat this. High school gyms built in the 60s beat this, so I'm hoping for a big game from Pedro. He picked up the rebound on that miss there, but he's a graduate senior. He was at UTA in 2 different stints, came back a couple years ago.
Well, they've got a video board. I give him that much credit.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not a bad facility. It's just, well, I mean, yes, it is. But they've tried to at least upgrade it to some modern-day amenities. But, I mean, you were going to watch this thing, and as you asked me if I had to pick between this and Texas Hall. I mean, it's Texas Hall all day long. Well, other than the stage, Texas Wall had a wall on both sides.
And you want to know the most ironic thing about this? I mean, they're playing a school right now in Seattle University that, at least in their history of a basketball program, they have made the Final Four. At least in the Division I history.
And that was older than this building.
So, yeah, they weren't even playing at that facility. As we go just less than 30 seconds into this game, it's still scoreless right now. Both teams coming in, well, actually flip-flopped records. UT-Arlington at 11-19, 6-11 in the Western Athletic Conference. Seattle U is 19-11, 10-7 in the WAC.
I think we actually have a stoppage in play because the fans are near the court. Oh no, we're reviewing something. I saw the fans' head bob along the screen right there as they're going to their seats, and the ref looked like he was pointing to them.
So we already got delay on a replay trying to figure out who the ball went out of bounds or something.
Well, this just kills this tempo of the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now we were talking this earlier. Kind of ironic here that the basketball's dealing with this at much. Meanwhile, the main thing I've been reading and observing for the past few days and couple weeks is all the changes going on in baseball to help speed up this game, and they may have to start looking at something like this very soon. We are back to the action
here. Do we have to replay every little thing? So often we're looking at possession and stuff like that. Nice move, Kyron.
And it's a jump shot by the Mavericks. Not able to get it. The rebound is along there, and now CLU is looking to make the fast break here.
Nice.
Nesania drive layup there to make it 2-0. CLU strikes blood first here in this contest. One thing I do wonder about, especially with college games, is probably what doesn't make this place look any better, just how blasé the colors on the floor are here.
Another turnover.
Yeah, another turnover by the Mavericks here as CLU has it up 2-0. Yeah, I thought they were going to shoot a 3-point here, but instead he drives outside, kicks it back out, maybe.
Couldn't tell. Looked like that foot slid. What are you doing, Brandon?
15-foot jumper does not go in. But they get the offensive rebound, and putback doesn't go in. Okay.
Well, say what you will. Kendall was outmanned there in terms of height, but man, that guy can jump and be pesky.
And there's Kendall here, kicking out here. Gives it a cash top of the key, trying to drive it inside. Fakes one way. Now he just can't. Oh, that's a tough hook shot here. He couldn't get a good shot, and he couldn't find anyone to kick it out to.
He missed that shot, but this offense is just so much better when he shoots.
Absolutely here. Had their struggles offensively throughout the games. We've got a 2-0 score here with 2 minutes in. There's a fumble, and Kendall comes up with it. Mavericks trying to run a fast break here. Thought about a 3-pointer on that side. Now he's got it trapped in the corner. Kicks it out, top of the key. Here's a 3-pointer. And kaboom!
Kyron Gibson.
Kyron Gibson with the 3-pointer and gives the Mavericks a 3-2 lead early on in this contest. Again, both teams are wrapping up their regular season and there's an offensive foul. Mavericks get the turnover there. So last regular season home game for both of these squads before they all pack up and head down to Las Vegas for the Western Athletic Conference Tournament.
Also called Wag Vegas. I think that's something changed since we left because it was in Vegas. Our first stint in the conference.
Everyone tries to find some type of cute gimmick to start up on there. Sadly, unfortunately, will not.
What was a charge? What are we talking about? Just get the ball in.
Now I just noticed here that the LU's court. This is one of those that they apparently have to keep the volleyball lines on there full time. Even we have that. Even at Texas Hall didn't have that. They were able to clear the.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, pretty sure there is. We got another turnover and a driving layup there by CLU. Or was it? Yeah, looks like it was counted and one there. For a moment, I wasn't sure if the referee was signaling an and one or signaling for an offensive foul, but it looks like it is a score and free throw coming here for CLU as the turnover. He was trying to kick it out to Cash, and number 0 for CLU was just. I knew I should have printed out rosters before
I thought
this
about
game.
that too just now. Let me grab that.
But yeah, let's go on here. He did warn you in advance this was not going to be a professional broadcast, everyone. As CLU does connect on the free throw, and they now lead this game 5-3 against UT-Arlington. You know,
I'd like Cash to take that.
Just draw a foul there, it looks like. It looks like...
See, when he shoots, this offense is just better.
Kendall Weaver here, you have to... Of course, some people are wondering how many... Even though he's been the top freshman, how many more games he may have left here. For those not aware, might as well get this out of the way. UT-Arlington in kind of a transitionary period here. The head coach, Greg Young, the start of the season, was let go about a couple of weeks prior. Yeah. They have been under the direction of assistant coach Trent Snoop Johnson for Roy Snoop Johnson.
Oh, look at see man. Oh yeah, that's got to be ours. Yep. And Walker making a play.
Yeah. And just so with the coach, with the current coach now having been changed, and of course with always the questions regarding the new NIL portal. Obviously, there's a lot of questions of how many more of these players will be returning after this season. Yeah. And just how much more from scratch they're going to have to start next season with.
Well, one of the things that really just kind of chaps me is the way the transfer portal works. You know what? I get it. It helps players out. But I was talking to Coach Young in the offseason. His basic thing was, if these rules were in place several years ago, Hervey and Neal, two of UTA's best all-time players at their positions, if not all around, they don't stay at UTA till their senior year. And so, the run that we had to that NIT, getting to the quarterfinals, that probably doesn't happen. And he said, unofficially, these bigger schools can't recruit, but they kind of do.
Yeah, that's the thing. For those not aware of talking about this, we got a fake and a... how is that not foul there? Did we finally get one? No, it's on Seattle, looks like.
No, it's on us.
Yeah. Ball goes to Seattle. That's what I meant. But yeah, he's talking about, of course, the 2017 season, which had two guys like Kevin Hervey and
Eric Neal.
Eric Neal's brain fart there. Yeah, Mavericks won the Sun Belt regular season conference championship. Unfortunately, because that's how the NCAA works, and this is one problem I've always had. You got a sliding offensive foul there or a travel there.
It had to be like I said, I thought I saw that earlier in the game. I was like, see, that looks like travel, but maybe they got that one right.
Yeah, and I am kind of with you on the of course the transfer portal here, but of course the thing that just always irks me is how the regular season champions still don't get automatic bids into the NCAA tournament here to get a double team in the post. You can try to find someone to kick it out to, but here's another three-pointer that is back-rimmed. And we still have a 5-3 Seattle U lead over UT-Arlington. I mean, for what it's worth, I said the Mavs defense is keeping them in this game for the most part here. Oh, wow! And I'm surprised he did not get called for goaltending on that one.
No, that was clean.
Yeah. So back-to-back rejects on driving layups are traded back and forth there. It looks like going out of bounds off of the Mavericks, it looks like.
No.
Nope, we just got a timeout.
Yeah, it's off Seattle.
For here, yeah. So we got timeout on the floor. 15:49 to go in the first half of play. Seattle University leading UT-Arlington 5-3. That would actually kind of bring up an interesting point here. You know that they still go the 2 20-minute full halves in the men's game. Meanwhile, over in the women's game, for those not aware, for the past few years, they've switched over to the 4 10-minute quarters. And I know there's a lot of question about whether or not the men's game should switch over to that. I personally can't see them doing it just for the fact that doing so takes away one media timeout in each half.
There you go.
And that's taking away potential commercial revenue from them.
Yeah, the Ohio Valley Conference actually experimented in conference play this year with getting one extra media timeout. So, it's every 4 minutes, 16-minute mark, then a timeout, the next stop and play, 12, 8, 4, and then obviously halftime. But they did it something really weird, and it doesn't balance out, but they had one like basically every 3 minutes instead of 4. And like I said earlier with the review, it's like there's just so many stoppage and play that ruins the flow. Like let's say late game, right? Your team hits a three-pointer to go up one at the home court, right? Everybody's excited, and we got a timeout, and it's just like, it just drains all the energy.
And believe me, like that's one of the main reasons why I have said for the longest time I wish the NCAA tried this some years back, and I really wish they hadn't given up on it in just like 2 months and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they really wish they had gone with the rule that when a team in the bonus gets fouled, they can have the option to choose to just inbound the ball instead of taking the free throws. So that would pretty much negate the ability for, because what gets me is that, what drags me is about dragging the game on is, team's got a 7-point lead with 10 seconds to go, and the other team is still fouling and just dragging that thing on and on. But you brought that up, is that is the one negative thing I've got about basketball in particular is, too often the last 2 minutes or so of the game can just get dragged on and on and on. That's why I even go with some radical rules changes of saying you can't call a timeout in the last 2 minutes.
I'm going to say that wasn't a block. I know we're not listening to the audio, and it's hard to see, because we're at the mercy of the camera there. But it looks like Seattle's lining up for free throws, and the guy who I thought got the block was talking. Yeah, it's going to be free throws.
Yeah, okay, we got 2 shots coming in for number 55 on UTA. You got to put the hand signal up here.
I got to do it.
I told you this wasn't. Ow! What we told you this wasn't a professional broadcast here, everybody.
No.
So
I'm still a fan first and foremost.
So expect this more as much as possible.
Marion's might be our most inconsistently good free throw shooter.
But he gets 1 or 2 there at least, and that cuts the lead down to 5-4 as we're just a little more than 4 minutes gone into this game.
Talbot's in the game now too.
Yeah.
Oh, and Dario. Oh, Montez looks like we got a bunch of new guys. Marion stayed in the game. Kendall's still in the game. Ooh, we were so good, but then she gets a fall. We got the rebound. Look at that.
And but his kick-out pass is intercepted. Just threw to the wrong guy there. Interesting. Just something I'm laughing at here as we get guy gets double-teamed. He may have no one to kick out to. No, he finds someone at the top of the key, and his three-pointer is no good there. Another fight for the rebound, but they get the offensive rebound. A quick three. That was not a good one. He had no business shooting a three-pointer off his feet, off his back foot that badly there. So they said, Seattle U, they call themselves the Red Hawks. And what's the thing that's making me laugh here is in one corner of this building, there's this giant inflatable bird in the corner that's just absolutely hilarious to look into.
There's a lot of just dead space in this arena, too. That's what's funny for something so small. Talbot, no.
I mean, they've got, obviously this is probably more than just men's basketball here, but they've got a number of banners hanging here that list multiple postseason appearances for at least the however many different programs take part in this building. You would guess there are at least 3 programs that play in this facility, both men's basketball, women's basketball, and volleyball, one would expect. Especially since, like I said, the volleyball court is still on display on the floor here, even. You got free throws here for Seattle U, and they missed the first one. I'll say this much. they seem to fill this place very well. At least they can get 900 people to show
that's
up
the thing.
here.
Yeah, and I mentioned that message board. I posted non-conference attendance numbers, and of course they're last with the facility so low. And he goes, "Well, why don't you post percentages for the arena?" I said, "Okay, cool. If you want to, we'll talk about Climate Pledge Arena, which is your second home, 18,000."
Climate Arena. That's the place where the Supersonics used to play, correct? That's what's called
Key
now.
Arena back in the day.
What we used to call Key Arena back then. I give props to the city of Seattle for keeping that place open. Maybe they try to hope against hope that NBA basketball will be back in the Emerald City one day. Is a fadeaway shot that's good from the Mavericks, and that ties the game up at 6 apiece as we hit the 14-minute mark here of tonight's game between UT-Arlington and Seattle U. Three-pointer here by a big white guy, and he manages to rattle it in.
That's their post player, too. Let's see, what's his name? That's probably having a phone
almost
on the roster.
Tony Kukoc look-alike there, almost.
Branton Chatfield. He's a sophomore.
That puts Seattle up 9-6. Here, Kendall's trying to... Well, he looked for a three-pointer, but it looks like he got someone else off the ball got an offensive foul on there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm completely not used to battles between Arlington, Texas, and Seattle. All those fights between the Rangers and the Mariners in the 90s are coming back to me.
Yep.
All those damn...
Yeah, but you just don't like it in college basketball because that's your conference player right there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the issue I've always had.
I mean, this is the equivalent of a New York team in the conference. Like, that's about how far everything is.
Yeah. I mean, but it's kind of similar to other places like SMU. Haven't they been in a conference with Temple University, which they're in Philadelphia, so that's not that much farther. There's another three-point here by the Kukoc lookalike, and he hits it.
No, that was
big
a different
guy.
One.
They got the two guys. Look at what. That's guy's got bushy afro and wig. Yeah.
Yeah.
Video quality's not that big here. I've got it here. So I apologize for that. I used to be really good at this. Ever since I moved away from sportscasting to being a sarcastic television reviewer, just haven't been able to take the time to research all this stuff.
Yeah, I bet
anymore.
if we wanted to. In fact, let's do that. Next media break, we're going to switch it over back to a familiar role. I'll do the play-by-play, you do the color.
You're always welcome to do that, of course. Yeah.
No, we'll do that at the next media timeout. But we'll see if we can crank up the old broadcast machine again.
Absolutely there.
Now, just bear in mind I got to scroll through the roster like this.
Yeah.
So it's going to make it rough. We at a timeout?
We do. Yeah, we are at the 13th. About 13:04 to go here. So they have to.
We're reviewing something. That's what.
Well, I think.
Dog.
Oh yeah, this is. You have to wonder if the state of this building is kind of making things even worse to deal with. Almost. Does that have a problem here? Because I seem to be in as many home games as I can at College Park Center, and we didn't have these type of problems for that many games here.
Yeah, there was just a few scenarios, but this is the third review now.
Yeah.
The first 7 minutes, and what are we reviewing? It clearly was a foul. A shot fake, defender went up, ball handler kept the ball, and defender landed on him. What are we reviewing?
Well, we've got showing us the WAC standings in the meantime.
Resume seating.
Well, the conference record, okay, you are kind of right there because you have to double check on that. I was going to say Sam Houston was in first place, but no, it's actually Utah Valley.
They're first. So the WAC does this resume seeding, which is based on a number of factors, but what they're trying to do is give their best teams the ability to have a higher seed to move on to the NCAA tournament with a higher seed.
Well, let's go with it here.
All right, we're starting off. All right, Kyron Gibson, top of the key. He dribbles off to his left side. I don't know. Who's 12? Is that Shaston? Oh, yeah, Cornish. Off to Weaver, top of the key, off left side. Kyron fakes the three for dribbling down to his left. Back out to Weaver, top of the key. He pulls up for a three. It's up, and it's a bad miss.
Yeah, that was. It said Kendall Weaver about as can be as accurate from three-pointer as he can as anyone on this team, but that was just not good shot whatsoever there. It's a 12-6 lead, meanwhile, as we hit the 12:43 mark here for the Mavericks.
That might be the ugliest three I've seen him do all year. But Riley Grigsby inbounds it over to Alex Schumacher. And Schumacher back to Grigsby. Grigsby guarded by Talbot just to the left of the key over to Schumacher on the right side. Schumacher puts it on the ground. Kendall staves it off. Passing it around top of the key back into the hands of Schumacher. Dribbling back around, overhead top pass to Schumacher. Again, trying to shake off Weaver. He's not doing it, but Schumacher finds Mika Undini underneath, who misses the layup. Rebound out to the Mavericks. Walker, top of the key, dribbles inside, tries to lay it up, and they're going to call jump ball.
Yeah, jump on there. Mavericks have the arrow, so they'll keep it on this end. I think the other thing I just love about, it just makes me laugh about that inflatable Red Hawk there. He's basically posing like he's King Kong.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's such weird to have that dead space, but there it is. Weaver with the inbounds pass up tied to Talbot. Corrals it in, back up to Walker, right side. Walker at the three-point line, steps in, dribble, spin, move, couple moves, spinning back out to Talbot, who had a career-high 5 3-pointers in his most recent game. Talbot back out to Kyron, who loses it momentarily, corrals it. And he's dribbling off to the left, top of key. Shot for a 3 is up, no good. Trying to draw the foul, doesn't get it. Seattle with the rebound. Long pass down, probably an ill-advised pass. We got some contact underneath, and they're going to call a charge. Brandon Talbot taking it.
Yeah, that was definitely kind of a... just right there and just completely bowled over on that one. That's going to take us to the second media timeout of this game with 11:44 to go, as neither team is being able to line it up so far in this game. It is a 12-6 cat game so far in favor of CLU over UTA. And the only thing I can say is at least these guys are trying somewhat, which is what I couldn't say from the last basketball game I actually attended, which having to my Martin Warriors lose probably one of the ugliest games possible to Lake Highlands in the regional semifinals of the UIL Texas State playoffs. As I was pointing out there before the broadcast, it was Martin's only chance to go because they were playing with only 5 varsity players due to the fact that the entire bench was suspended for getting all of themselves ejected in a brawl that took place during their second round victory over Louisville 1 week ago. So basically the only chance they even had of trying to beat the number 1 ranked team in the entire state was basically play 1950 style basketball. Let's just say I'm not going to be surprised if over the off season people might start advocating for the UIL to invoke a shot clock into high school basketball, and they'll be pointing to that game as Exhibit A for it.
Yeah, they've been asking for that for a while, and sometimes they're right because they just pass around the three-point line now, and with today's basketball, the mid-range jumper is almost dead. So that's, you got an impetus to score quickly. In theory, that's supposed to be like the baseball pitch clock to speed up the game. But again, make it more exciting because passes are fine and they're necessary in an offense. But, if you're just passing around waiting for somebody to be open on a 3.
It wasn't even that thing though. Like, it was like... Now maybe more of their regular shooters were out for that game than I thought to, but even the guys who normally would be able to shoot the ball, they were extremely timid in this game. They kept backing the ball up into the rear corners of the court if they can absolutely get a clear path into the basket.
Yep.
And they were just trying to, they were basically playing 4 corners offense of the old Dean Smith days.
Hey, so, since we're being impromptu, do you want to pick up play-by-play for this media timeout section?
I might wait till the second half. I'm gonna try to print out the rosters to try to help me out there.
How did that happen? They just had an inbounds pass, and Weaver almost had a one-on-one fast break.
Yeah,
Seattle broke down pretty hard right there, but that was a nice little clean play. I'm not doing the play-by-play right now.
No, of course.
I like the discussion aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna give you a little bit of each time here.
Man, they're guarding Walker pretty good down there. He can't find his signature move.
Now we got, still 12-6. There's almost another. The big guys for CLU, they're willing to shoot 3-pointers, and the other ones they're apparently making them so far, as that one is badly missed, and the Mavericks get it back here.
Yeah.
We got here.
Schumacher hadn't looked good early.
So we got trying to kick it out here. Still, Cash is getting hounded defensively. Almost lost it. He answers to hand it off. Here's a drive to the paint. Kicks out to Kendall. He'll take it on from 15. And he gets it to rattle in. They'll catch it to 12-8. We was about the only guy with the confidence to shoot from that range so far in this game.
Oh, Brandon, he got a little bit beat, but he was able to recover.
Yeah, there's another drive in the pass to kick it out. 3-point from the top of the key is good. And that's going to make it 15-8. Mavericks trailing Seattle
Tyson
U.
was wide open there.
Like I said, was it 1958? I guess that's what the banner says. Was
Yep.
the time that Seattle U actually made
it
to the Final Four.
Yeah, and this arena opened in '59. So
Yeah.
think about what they had before.
And keep in mind that you said Seattle U dropped out of Division I, didn't they, for a few years after
they
that?
dropped out of the entirety of the NCAA.
So there's a 3-point attempt here, and that does not go in. And it looks like it was an over-the-back
Holy
foul
Lord,
there.
that guy's hair's down to his waist. I thought he was doing a Maybelline commercial or something. Flicking the hair all gently like.
His long hair almost as long as Star Jacobs' is.
Yeah. I gotta say, it looks better on her, though.
Yeah. Let me see. I'll figure it out how to do it.
So it looks like we got a mass substitution going in. But again, we've only got the camera angle given to us by the broadcast. They really wanted to show us the ref for some reason.
Well, I'm gonna give the broadcast team this much credit. They might not have the room in a place like this that gives us too many camera options.
Sure. Oh man, they just drove the length of the court on that inbounds. Silky hair guy. Although there's certainly dreadlocks of some kind. Braids, couldn't tell.
Yeah, it's a 17-8 lead now for the UTA Mavericks. Trying to drive into the paint. He draws a double team. The kick out to Cash, top of the key.
He needs to shoot more.
Drives in there, does get the layup, right? Driving layup. A little bit of a hop there, but was able to get away with it and cut the lead down to 7. Said both teams will be heading to WAC Vegas starting next week. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it this year, as I've been planning to a lot of stuff planned for this past month, including in another week or so be attending All-Con Dallas. Be selling my Rowdy C shirts and copies of Quest Seekers the Wormstone, as the 3-pointer there is missed, but the offensive rebound by Cash. May have to take this himself, almost loses it. Oh, and there's an outlet pass trying to get it to Weaver, and it's knocked, fortunately, just out of bounds.
Yeah, I think Weaver was ready to drive on that one. All right, 23. I couldn't see his number because his hair is just so long and flowing.
I'll say this. This is the kind of place that I think I could probably make a lot of noise in if I was out there in front. But I'm not willing to fly 2,000 miles to do that.
Not at all. Guess what country the long-haired guy's from?
Where's that?
Jamaica. Does that not fit?
I suppose so.
All right, Marion with the drive. Looks like he got fouled.
Looks like that.
Shot did not fall. By the way, I can tell I'm rusty on the broadcasting because I kept saying "going to," and that's one of the golden rules you don't break. It's not. It's going to. It is. It's just filler words. But I noticed I did it twice last stretch. So they're certainly out of.
All right. Remember, you're talking to a guy who used to edit for the school paper, and I was known for cutting out as many "that's" out of the copy as possible.
All right, Humphrey at the line shooting the first of 2, and
that's
the
not
back
good.
arm.
Yeah. Still 17-10. UTA trailing Seattle U.
I think the game against Utah Tech, he was no. That was a terrible amount of free throws. One, maybe it's Stephen F. Austin. He went something like 7 for 8, 7 of 7, something like that.
They're coming to you from one of the smallest bandbox arenas in all of Division I sports.
Yep. All right, so Humphrey going for a second here is up, and it's bouncing, and it doesn't make it. He's one of 4.
Again, free throw shooting has been one of the struggles for this team, especially for certain players. To get the kick out was almost picked off, but they recover again, and oh man, that was not a good shot that went in, but it still went in. That's
his second 3-pointer of the game.
Kind of with the James Harden beard going on there. 20-10. Seattle over UT-Arlington now. Thinks about it, does actually shoot the 3-pointer there, and that is badly background. Cash. He looks like he was trying to get the offensive rebound, but he may have drawn a foul on that play, and that's leaves going to put Seattle U at the limit for the game.
They've quietly picked up 7 fouls. UTA only sitting at 4. I almost thought they were going to whistle Cash because he was close. It looked like he might have been over the back.
Correction, that is the 7th foul. So this is going to be a 1-on-1 situation for Kevin Cash and the Mavericks.
Aaron.
Why did I say Kevin? What?
No idea. Maybe you watched Home Alone?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, he's just
Well, I
makes
got
the
him confused with
offense so much
Kevin
better.
Nash.
Maybe we'll go with that.
Front end of the 1-and-1 is good. We are approaching the 8-minute mark of the first half. Is now a 20-11 score. Cash with the opportunity to try and cut that down to 8 here with his second shot.
Makes it.
And I'm just noticing that you've got a seating section on one end and a wall on another. This is almost a miniaturized version of Strahan Coliseum.
Yeah. Oh, Humphrey with the foul. Tried to do a little reach in. I never understood why you would do that. You're coming down, the ball's in the opposite hand away from you. You got to reach across their entire body to do it. It's just best not to do it, in my opinion. But it looks like we come up to the third media timeout of the half.
I am going to say this. This is one thing I've always wondered about, especially in basketball, and this is probably the case in both college and the pros. When did it suddenly become in style for the coaches to all go with those pullovers instead of full suits?
It's something you saw slowly more and more, and now you just don't see any suits anymore at all. It's got to be under 10% easy. But so far, looking at this game, it's kind of a prototypical of a lot of the Mavs struggles against the better WAC teams this year. They're not shooting pretty hot. I don't know what the percentages are. We don't have any updates or anything like that, but it's certainly not a barn-burning occasion anyway. And then every time they start to kind of creep up, they let off a couple of quick threes, and now they're trailing again by pretty large margin. So it's just like there's enough to make the team competitive, but just not enough to get them over that hump on a consistent basis.
They were able to get a decent win over Sam Houston State at home earlier this season, and they beat Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches. So again,
see, the thing is, this is a good team. Like that's not the issue. The issue is they're so young, and that's what makes a lot of Maverick fans kind of uncomfortable about this upcoming offseason with the coaching change and stuff like that. You're going to have – I don't see any other candidate. I mean, Will Holloman down at UT-RGV is his closest competition, but Kendall by far the best freshman of the year. And he should, by all accounts, get the Freshman of the Year award. Brandon Walker's come up pretty big. You got Shamar Wilson, who's a sophomore, Kyron Gibson, Marion Humphrey. Those guys are just juniors. In fact, the only graduates off this team are going to be Aaron Cash and not Humphrey, but Pedro Castro. I mean, you can't tell me that this isn't going to be a talented squad next year if everybody stays together.
Exactly.
And of course, the injury bug's always a factor. Shamar hasn't played in, I think, 3 straight now.
Just trying to hopefully get some stats here for this game, but not being able to dig some up at least off of Google, and that just might be the case of the fact that there's no one there to relay them to Google whatsoever. But let's go ahead and get, at the very least, we'll
pull up the Mavs live feed. Back to play, 7:56 remaining in the first half. It's a 20-12 deficit for the Mavericks against the Redhawks. Mavericks playing defense. Marion Humphrey on the defense underneath the baseline. Ball bounced around on the drive, reverse layup, missed, but goes out of bounds. Looks like a last touch by the Mavericks, so to stay with the Redhawks.
Yeah. Trying to get some stuff ready to give you guys.
Right now, the Mavericks are shooting 28.6% from the field. And that's, again, kind of a microcosm of what they've experienced all year. Drive under the baseline, pass out to the three-pointer taken by Seattle. Number 11, don't have his name off the top of my head. He misses. Fight for the rebound goes to the Redhawks, who pass out, stolen by Cash. Drive, spin move down to the layups. Layups too strong. But Montez comes in with the offensive rebound and put back to a 6-point deficit.
At least the Mavericks have not allowed Seattle to extend this lead once it got to as much as 10 points.
Yeah, and that's one thing that they do is they don't get blown out often. Seattle actually was the last team to blow them out. Mavs get the steal, fast break, dish off to Marion Humphrey with the slam home, and it's down to 4. Timeout Seattle.
And there comes the run here. The one thing is that traditionally this season they always did get off to relatively slow starts, and
yes,
and we have seen it like in issues like this. They have the opportunity to start making an actual run.
Yep.
If they find ways to work together and are willing especially when the guys like Cash and Weaver have the confidence to actually take their shots when they're there.
Yep.
I want to give some shout outs because I'm looking in there to however many UTA fans that actually did make the trip all the way up there to Seattle, because I am seeing some people in blue out there in the seating sections right behind the Mavericks bench, having to stand in the shadow of the giant inflatable King Kong bird.
Yeah, I just like I said, this is certainly a unique arena, but we're back to play timeout. Over with as we approach the 6:50 mark in the first half. Mavs claw back to it, down by that was bad math or bad English. 4-point deficit. Boy, yeah, I'm so rusty on the broad. I used to be able to do this nonstop. A drive down the middle. Red Hawk draws a foul. I can't see. The font is goofy on this too. Even when you get a clear picture, you can't read their names.
And I am probably gonna make you look like Mike Breen by comparison if I do take over this in the second half, just so you know.
Riley Grigsby, the Red Hawk on the drive, he'll go to the line shooting 2. First shot is up and nothing but the back of the net. So Seattle finally answers the run, 6-0 for the Mavericks. Red Hawks get the first point since that time frame on the board, and then push the lead back to 5. Second free throw is up, and we can't tell on the broadcast until now because it actually went through and the point's up. But
my apologies for that. I think that's due to my computer loading these documents.
It showed the guy shooting the ball, and he's holding his form, and then they switched over after kind of saw the net move. 6-point deficit Mavericks. Marion Humphrey at the left side, drives up near the key. Long floater up over, misses. Rebound by the guy who shot the 3. I should know his name. I already called it once, but I don't. Oh, no, that's a different guy, 33. I don't know him. Anyway, Seattle's got the ball back there. Schumacher on the right side, dribbling against Montez. Mavericks playing their zone. They're passing it around the key, handoff, top of the key to 2. Again, I wish I had my roster. I feel really goofy saying numbers. A little hook shot there is good, and Seattle's now going on a mini run of their own to answer the Mavs after that timeout. 24-16, 5:53 remaining. Humphrey with the ball, directing the offense. Cash coming out, setting up a screen. Humphrey goes against the screen, passes left side, Montez Young. Young around to the right, Weaver. A little fake move, top of the key, pass off to Kyron. Deep NBA 3 is nothing but good. Where did that come from? Nice job by Kyron answering the run, and it's down to a 5-point deficit again.
5.5 minutes to go. What was at least a 10-point game has been cut down to 5. It was down to as little as 4 just a few minutes ago as we had a missed 3-pointer there.
Schumacher tried to answer quickly, misses in and out. Mavericks get the rebound. Kendall Weaver bringing it up, a little spin moving around. I thought he was going to get in. There's the travel call.
Yeah. He
was trying to spin it around, and I think a player actually kind of stumbled into him. But I'm okay with the non-call foul. But Weaver turning it over, and Mavericks set up on defense again. See, look at these numbers. Like you see the number, but you can't see the name, even though it's clear on the jersey. I'm not a big fan of their font. Grigsby inbounds to Schumacher. Was it Schumacher? Did I say that right? Yeah, Schumacher. He's looks like a point guard of the team, dribbling up to the right side, past top of the key. Pedro Castro on defense. Grigsby spin move, crossover, doesn't get anything, passes out. Schumacher off to the key, and I guess I've got charge call, but the stream kind of pixelated there.
Yeah, again, I don't know if that's an issue of the broadcast itself, or the fact that I've been doing some stuff in other windows here.
Either way,
slowing it down.
Unprofessional, so we're awesome. But nice job there by Humphrey, setting up, drawing the charge. And Mavericks look to take over on offense. Pedro Castro looking for the inbounds. Doesn't have anybody, calls a timeout. Smart senior play right there. 5 minutes remaining, and Mavericks trail by 5, 24-19 to Seattle. That will be number 2 in the timeout category. Mavericks with 2 remaining. Seattle has 3.
24-19 lead is exactly 5 minutes to go here in this first half. And again, you can't completely blame the fact of the broadcast itself, but this again is the idea of, just shows you, even at the college level, a difference between this and the high school games. Because like I said, I attended a lot of Martin High games this year, and one of the things that really started to make me fall in love with it is those games get completed in an hour and a half, usually, more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, the media timeouts have always been, at least since I've started following college.
Now, granted, I'll give you this. The high school games, I believe, are only like 32 minutes as well of play, as opposed to 40 minutes even at the college level. So there is something to be said about that at the very least.
Yeah, but they also don't have the complete stoppages. You know, if a referee says it's out of bounds, nobody says, okay, let's take a look at this and stuff like that. It just has a much better flow. Well, I don't think that'll ever be the case. I mean,
you may be right there.
Some high school is broadcasted, but not enough that I think there's going to be a huge clamor. It's ironic because I think a lot of the ills of college sports stem from schools like the University of Texas, Austin. But they're the one that run the UIL.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And yet they get it right at the UIL level.
And that's the irony that I begin to have sometimes, the fact that another thing that's caused me to really like and get more attracted to the high school game is the postseason format and seeding. It is set in stone exactly who gets in and who faces who and whatnot. You definitely don't have all the politicking and bantering around of trying a strength and schedule crap that even goes into the selection process of college basketball in the NCAA, to say nothing of the absolute joke that college football is with its postseason, and just how so many people that are in charge of college football are fighting tooth and nail against any type of actual improvements in that area. And as the thing I was pointing out here, one of the largest schools probably responsible for just everything going wrong in college especially in college football and the like, is the University of Texas. That they have been, just the fact that, again, they decide to just completely, permanently end so many in-state rivalries they've had for so long, as we have a missed three-pointer there by UTA, in order to jump ship to the Southeastern Conference. You're never going to have a situation where Arlington High School is going to leave for another district where they're no longer playing against the likes of Martin and Sam Houston and Lamar.
Yeah, they're paired up with an El Paso or a Midland school.
Exactly there. I mean, of course, they do realign.
And he's still... So Weaver...
Yeah,
what we're reacting to, Humphrey had a nice little bounce pass on a fast break. Weaver wide open, fumbled it. And he was still wide enough that he was able to pick up the ball and still lay it in.
And that makes it a three-point game, by the way. And there's a turnover by the Mavericks. A long bomb could possibly tie this game. They trail as many as
Brandon
three-pointers
Walker
here.
with it.
Cannot get it to go.
He's shot a lot of three-pointers this year. His percentage is one of the lowest on the team. But there was one game he made three, so it's hard to tell him not to. And that looked like a couple of hops, but let it go. Marion got caught off ground on a shot fake. Put in by Seattle to push the lead back to 5. 3 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and that's anyway. As I was trying to say, I say, the UIL, they will realign districts every so often,
and it's usually based on enrollment and geography.
Right, exactly. And like I said, who knows? Right now, the Arlington schools are paired up with the Grand Prairie schools. That's another three-pointer is sadly missed.
For 3.
Behind
the arc.
And again, who knows exactly if they do switch that back up? As another long three-pointer is hit.
That's what I'm talking about right there. We pulled it within, what was it, 2? Mm-hmm. And now it's back to an 8-point
3,
game. Yeah. Well, I know it was 3 recently. I think it was 2 before that. No,
perhaps.
It never got to 2. 4 was the closest, and then 3. So, but I'm back to an 8-point deficit. They've come up empty on a couple offensive possessions. And nice
good
move by Gibson.
Got every bit of the rim that finally was able to drop in, and that makes it back to a 6-point game here as we approaching the 2-minute mark of the first half here. UT-Arlington against Seattle University. UT trying to end the regular season on somewhat of a good note, but that is not going to have any good chance of that happening. Another three-pointer as Seattle U is suddenly getting red hot from beyond the arc.
With those threes and deep, and he can shoot it. There's no question about that.
It's back up to a 9-point game.
One of Seattle's best players, and he's a statistical leader in the WAC, and if you cannot like number 1, but at the top of the charts for much of the WAC.
Almost a steal there, but they kick it out to Weaver. Can he at least answer? No, he cannot.
Only Gibson been able to really do it this game.
Trying to get here, tried to trap in the backcourt there, but they managed to break the press, and I think Seattle ended up drawing. Did he get called for a push
Looks
off
like
there?
they're walking away, but like I said, the camera angles are a little rough. Look like some walking down. But yeah, Tyson just been able to
its follow-up special that will be in about another couple of weeks. In the meantime, also, for those not aware, we will be in another week or so be releasing the next TV Trash, which is the animated pilot episode of Carlton, Your Doorman. If anyone has any knowledge of television history, yes, indeed, we are talking. There was, in fact, a character, a follow-up special that was centered around the supporting cast member of Rhoda, the TV show, who, of course, was voiced. We never actually saw the character in person, but was voiced by the eventual voice of Garfield himself, the late, great Lorenzo Music. That's coming up about in a few days, I think, actually, if I remember correctly. This coming Monday. Or is it? What's I remember? Okay. No. A week from Monday, the Barbie and the Rockers review will be released to all Patreon supporters this coming Monday. As well as, I believe, a new Rowdy and Friends short will be posted on that same day. Then, the next week, a week from this coming Monday, will be the next TV Trash official episode, the review of Carlton, Your Doorman. So just hopefully we'll be able to look forward to that. As I said, it is halftime here, UT-Arlington versus Seattle U. And then
Mavericks made it close on the baseball front there at the end. They opened the first game of a 3-game set in. Boy, see, this tells you how I've been out so long.
Natchitoches?
That's it, yeah. I can get Nacogdoches down all the time because it's one of those cities that's not pronounced as it's spelled. The Demons picked up 2 bottom of the 9th inning runs, but they needed 3 to tie it. UTA walks away with a 5-4 win. I want to say, Gabe Starks picks up the victory. Nice, solid line for him. Just going 5, but he gave up 2 earned runs. His team was able to grab the lead top of the 6th, giving him the first victory of the season for him. I think it's against 2 losses. Looks like Connery Peters picked up the save despite giving up 2 earned runs in that 9th. But when you come in with a 3-run lead, that's all you need sometimes. But I believe, it is certainly the first win of a series, Game 1. They dropped it against A&M Corpus Christi as well as McNeese in Arlington this past weekend. So that's a good start to get them ahead of the win total to start the series.
And hopefully it gets things like getting off to a good start for a program that also is in kind of a transitionary period. This is the first, as they've got a new first-year coach in this season as well.
Yeah, they actually were ranked as one of the top 10 transfer classes in the NCAA. We hadn't really saw a whole lot of that. I have been impressed. The guy that I was following last year, Steven Saunders, in fact, the game we saw against TCU, my kid ended up getting a home run ball he hit against the Horned Frogs, but he's come up big. He's maturing into a pretty good slugger, maybe one of UTA's next draft picks.
Is that the game you actually saw at the Country Club Stadium?
No, I did not. I have not gone to the Country Club Stadium to see college or pros. I've only went once, and that was because my kid's high school was playing an exhibition game there. But not impressed with that facility.
Yeah, I'll be saying this. Like I said, look, I wonder myself if I've been too hard, maybe on that whole new place, especially in the wake of me having to deal with, like I said, so many other people gritching and complaining about the new baseball rules changes that I actually think could be a very good thing for the future of the game. And there's a term we mostly use it in the geek community types, which is known as gatekeeping. And I'm starting to get a feeling that a lot of, especially baseball fans, have become really guilty of that type of attitude that if you're not the person who will just sit back and enjoy 4 hours of a lot of people doing mostly nothing during a game, you're not a real fan. And I'm starting to think that that's not... I really didn't want to become that type of person, especially as far as baseball goes. But now, part of me kind of fears, have I started to become guilty of that with all the issues I have of the fact that we no longer play, that the Rangers no longer play in an outdoor facility?
Well, it's not outdoor that bothers me. I think you actually described it in a way that I couldn't quite put my finger on it until you said it. It feels like an indoor mall centered around a baseball field. Like, you go to the, I will always call it the ballpark in Arlington. You go to the ballpark in Arlington in its heyday, you knew what that was. It was a classic-looking baseball stadium, great sight lines. I mean, there were times I could only afford the third level, and it was fun to watch up there. And it just seems like nowadays, I understand you have to reduce seating capacity and make every game feel more tight. Like, I understand that philosophy, and that's great. But the concourse that you walk in on is the second level, and the first level is so small that you can tell that's designed to milk out the premium dollar. And that's where I have a problem, is like, back in the day, you could take a family of 4, get a drink, like a hot dog for everybody, and come out with $100. And, I understand, like, hey, we got suites and stuff like this, and, people want a more premium experience, but when you start designing your stadium to muscle out the average per person, like, that works okay in the NFL because you got 8 games. But at the baseball level, I just don't know how well that's going to work out to start with. But 2, it creates a much more distant experience for the fans who are not able to be at that close range and the actual game presentation.
I will say this, I did go ahead and pick and purchase at least one 10-game voucher pack that's going to be at least first level left field for me, and I'm going to give it a try to see if I can make it.
Let's talk about those outfield seats. I mean, we still had great view of the game.
Right.
And I felt like I had a better view in the outfield seats from your old season ticket spot to where we were. We were sitting roughly behind home plate, a little off to the right towards first base, but I just felt so far away from the field. For sitting where I was like, this is insane to me. And, part of the problem is the way that the seats are designed are like this on the first level, and then it's just straight up to the second, whereas at the ballpark, they overlap.
Oh, one thing, for at least the handful of times I have gone there already, what kind of got to me is the right field stands. It's practically a mountain slope.
Yep.
How high they're turned up, and I was thinking, like, if I even did take my mother to a game there, there's no way she could handle those steps.
Yeah,
and
that creates another cramped feeling too, which gives that vibe of a shopping mall centered around a baseball field.
Exactly.
Hey, real quick, do you have anything I can drink?
You go ahead.
Perfect.
Like I said, we're at the halftime here. I'm trying to get some stuff put together myself to see if I can get this whole broadcasting racket again. See how just terrible I do at it very soon. But what I was the one thing that I just I did think about in comparison was I said I was sad when we lost Reunion Arena, but at the same time I've been able to tolerate it for the most part, and I just keep wondering, why is it that I can't do that with this other facility for the Rangers? Mind you, anyone who's in the North Texas area, that of course I will be back at Traders Village this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We should be there from approximately around 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Be selling I haven't come up with enough of this style, but the classic Rowdy C-shirts there will be there, as well as copies of Quest Seekers: The Wormstone. I am planning to hopefully within the next month or so place an order to finally get print copies made of the second volume in
by
that
the way,
series.
We got this Seattle. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
For your promo, but watch this Seattle commercial. Like you saw their track facility, which is literally a chain link fence. Okay, and that's also where the soccer. A lot of universities now have their soccer field in the middle instead of a football field with the track around it.
Right.
No. Thought we were about to show the baseball field. I remember this commercial from when the women played. But yeah, so there's their soccer field. That's their stands. So about as much as you saw for the home side was what the soccer stadium is. As far as competitive, now it does go all the way down.
I'm just going to assume CLU doesn't even play football.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
But there's a tennis court. Looks like UTA's. As far as chain link fence around tennis court, I don't know what kind of pro shop they have. I know UTA supposedly has put money into theirs recently. There's a softball facility. Compare that to Allen Sack. So there you go. There, see it. That's it right there. That's their track and field soccer stands.
Yeah, and let's say, technically UTA still has a football stadium, though now nobody plays football there anymore because even the high schools that used to play there, they've now moved to what used to be known as Rangers Ballpark. Now that got completely reconverted for football. So now Maverick Stadium is pretty much exclusively a track and field facility for the most part.
From what I understand, it's a terrible high school football facility to begin with, so that's ironic to me. But
talking about
the Choctaw, yeah.
Well,
what they call it now, but yeah, it's always the ballpark in Arlington.
Yeah, it's the same thing to me too. I did seem to go to. I think I've been to a couple of games there, and maybe I might give you at least a chance to give it a try there.
Yeah, I would like to go once. So
have no plans. Just just because anybody asks, have no plans of attending an XFL game there.
I've thought about that too.
Oh well,
just to see what it's like.
Maybe I might check out North Texas SC play there, the more or less minor league developmental soccer club of FC Dallas.
They would play there?
Yeah, they do.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Not just they would, they do.
They do.
Wacky.
They've actually been, they've been there for the last 2 or 3 years or so. Absolutely there. So we're just waiting for the.
The problem that I have is like, you remember Georgia State, obviously from the Sun Belt. They converted the old Atlanta Braves stadium to their football stadium. Well, at least what they did is they cut out kind of the stands and then rebuilt that side of it while keeping the third base line basically intact, which creates that awful proportionality where the foul lines kind of draw towards the end zone as you go further down and creates that little foul territory in that corner right there. So just, looking at it looks goofy, but at least on the other side they rebuilt the stands. Hold on, I got to take this call.
Absolutely.
Sorry, buddy.
No, you go right ahead.
Hey, pal.
Meantime, we're just getting ready for the second half here. UTA versus. Thanks again for everyone who's tuning in on this night. Again, we hope to go back to regular episodes of Rowdy Live here on this news day, Friday evenings. Hopefully we'll start regularly starting on 8 p.m. Central Time eventually as we move forward. And then, like I said, it will probably start getting the weekends a lot more busier for myself. Probably be doing these broadcasts on Rowdy Live Friday nights. And then, like I said, moving on to the regular Rowdy C store that shall be in Traders Village in Grand Prairie, Texas.
Yeah, well, this is what Bowles was saying, but, this is why I kept trying to tell her, like, you're asking me.
Anyway, let's keep going here.
Halfway through, and Bowles has told me all the stuff he did, but I don't.
Well, since the Auburn game at 2, yeah, I believe Duke and North Carolina is there as well. I wasn't aware that was going on. Let's we'll put that back here. Didn't know we were doing that live all this time during the broadcast, but we'll do this for the second half.
So we luminol, we find a large pool of blood. Guess what that does? But they wanted nothing.
So we're getting ready here to start the second half here for UT-Arlington, and Seattle U has the ball to start this half, and it's going to be Alex Schumacher has it. Takes it to his left side. Trying to find someone to kick it out to him. They finally gets it back. trying to lob it inside. Both got it in the corner. Trying to find a post-up move against Kendall Weaver here. He can't find who he has to kick it back out, and he almost loses the ball, but it is recovered by Cameron Tyson. He tries to drive it on, fadeaway shot, rattles in, out, no good. There's a fight for the rebound, and it goes out of bounds. I believe it is off of UTA. 36-27, UT-Arlington trailing Seattle U. UTA coming into this game 11-19, 6-11 in the Western Athletic Conference play. Udenier kicks in. Here's a three-point attempt that rattles in and out. No good by Cameron Tyson, but another offensive rebound as the Red Hawks are keeping themselves in this just on the offensive boards. Driving to the paint, almost traveled. Manages to kick it back out into the left corner. Mavericks try to double team inside there. This is Tyson. He launches another three-pointer, and finally he is able to convert. And that makes it 39-27. As again, trying to find some way to end the regular season on a winning note before they go into Vegas for the WAC tournament and try to give Coach Johnson any type of good feeling to come into. Here's a shot that goes in by Brandon Walker, the freshman out of Oak Cliff, Texas, and it cuts the lead back down to 10. It was a 12-point lead. I believe that was Seattle's largest lead that came so far. Here's a three-pointer attempt that surpasses that lead, made by number 25, Brandon Chatfield, and it is now 42-29. Seattle over UTA. This is Brandon Walker. He's a fadeaway shot, does not go in off the back rim. The fight for the rebound, and it comes up to Seattle U. This is Schumacher driving to the lane, almost gets fouled. Let's say he did draw a foul, but they may not be counting that bucket because there is no continuation in the college game. They're showing that three-pointer again. So yeah, it looks like was no shot on the foul, so it will just be inbounds play here for the Red Hawks. Under 18 minutes to go here. The shot is blocked. Offensive rebound goes to Tyson. And they reset the game here. This is Schumacher. Maybe thinking about a three-pointer there, but instead he hands it off back to the top of the key to Riley Grigsby. This is a fadeaway shot here from just inside the arc, and it is badly airballed. The rebound comes to UTA. Now he's maybe looking to run. Here is Kendall Weaver. Drives it. Tries a really bad hook shot there, and it's not able to go in. There's still a fight for the offensive rebound, and now a whistle is called. I believe this foul may in fact be on Seattle U.
Sorry for that work call. Unfortunately, I'm away here. I got a call I didn't want to get. So
nah, well.
I got it handled, and I'm sticking around.
Nope, no problems whatsoever here.
Looks like Cash going to free throw?
No, it is an inbound for the Mavericks here. Kendall Weaver making the inbounds pass. Finally, bounce pass in there to Cash. Put it up and in. Great look here by Cash on a semi-backdoor cut there to get the pass in there from Kendall Weaver and cut it down to 42-31.
Gotta wonder why Dario didn't play more in the first half. He had double-digit points against the league-leading Utah Valley Cougars.
So yeah, time.
Wolverines.
We'll learn. There's a driving layup that is scored. I believe a foul drawn as well.
Sorry, my fan's gonna come out a little bit.
Hey,
I don't have to worry about being impartial anymore.
No, not this. This is the kind of stuff we try to be as unprofessional as possible now on this thing.
Well, it's funny. I was thinking you started segueing into something else, so I couldn't get it there. But this is your Ugly American Sports. But I almost feel like you should rename it when we're doing this to the Ugly American Broadcasters.
We'll keep that amount. We'll keep that. Well, that's kind of part of the joke here, as it was a made shot by Riley Grigsby as he tries to convert the three-point play here, and he is able to do so. 45-31, Seattle U over UT-Arlington. We just exactly 17 minutes to go in this game.
They just can't miss from the free throw line. They're at 9 of 10. Is that updated?
When you can make your free throws, you become very difficult to defeat. Meanwhile, the Mavericks here have Marion Humphrey had on top of the key. He kicks it out to Gibson in the corner. Here's a shot to the other corner. Now it finally gets into the hands of Kendall Weaver. He drives in, cannot get the layup to go in.
Look at Dario.
But it looked like there almost was an offensive rebound, but the kick out went out of bounds.
And Dario didn't get that rebound, but he made it bounce up in the air twice. That's why I say he needs to have more minutes in the advent of Shamar. I know we're kind of playing a little bit more small ball as a team, but man, I just really like his game, and I know he's a little unpolished, but I think he can be really good.
This is a Sai Riley. Hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I've never been good with names. He drives in there, but it looks like, did he draw a foul there, or was it just knocked out of bounds?
No, they're calling it non Dario, and his hands are straight up. I like the replay. It's not like I said, we're a little rough here with the video feed with what it is, but I don't know how you can play better defense than that. I mean, this guy's just being spastic. Like, what do you want him to do?
I was about to say, I think I was saying this earlier, just about how definitely one thing that kind of stands out and not in a good way is the colors of the playing court here on this facility. Basically the part of the court in between the shooting lane and the 3-point line is just like a stained brown look, while everything else is almost unpainted, save for the WAC logos and a silhouette of the Seattle skyline. As we miss it, I think he misses both those free throws. It's now 46-31 lead. But I'm actually noticing how a lot of schools are almost doing this now, where the areas between the lanes and the line are colored almost naturally, and what we always called the paint is almost not painted anymore anywhere. There's a bad free-pointer, badly missed there, but there's a fight for the rebound. It may have gone off of Cash there, or did it?
No, they're calling a foul, and Seattle's frustrated. It's like, you pushed him to the ground, guy. He had the ball, and you're pushing him. Like,
there's the first timeout for the second half, 46-31. Seattle U leading UT-Arlington. It's like I say, it seems like, as I said, it's amazing how so many floors, especially in the college game, that the area that has long been known as the paint is almost not painted anymore.
Yeah, it's almost the exact opposite. It's called the varnish or something.
Of course, I joke about this, how the Dallas Mavericks, at least one of the playing courts they use now, has a green painted shooting lane inside the areas outside the court itself are all painted blue. And the reason that just makes me kind of cringe a bit is the fact that the only other time that they had that type of style was actually the first year I started watching the Dallas Mavericks, 93-94. You remember how many games they won that year?
That was the one that was really low.
13 games that year, which was still 2 more than they had won the previous season.
Yeah, they had a real bad stretch there for a while.
And
hey, hold on. So here's what kind of exactly your point. I always find this map funny. So during these halftime, they'll do the WAC commercial. And so there's your contingent of Texas. And as we get out west, and of course West is always going to be more spread out compared to its United States Eastern counterparts. But we got Cal Baptist with New Mexico State and GCU, and then you got the 3 Utah schools, and then all the way out there is old Seattle. It's an outlier beyond any sort of.
And of course, we're losing at least one of those Texas schools, the Sam Houston State, leaving the WAC because they want their football program into the 1A level, which
they're not ready for.
Yeah, that's the thing that's just absolutely amazing. We're talking about, especially Sam Houston State. It was just a couple years ago their football team won a national championship at the 1AA level.
And they still drew 7,000 to 8,000. Now, this is the problem that I have with the NCAA. Is it a rule or is it a not rule? You're supposed to average 15,000 over a 2-year rolling period.
I thought it was just about having the capacity to do so.
No, you have to average 15, and that was one of the things they did, is because that's what, like, North Texas moved up. They built those temporary stands in the end zone that were, bare bones at best, to bring Fouts up to, I think, 31,000 or something to that effect. It used to be you have to have a 30,000 stadium, and then they changed that. Well, Bowers is neither one of those. It's a 12,000 seat stadium, and they averaged 8,000.
Here's a 3-point attempt. that is badly front rim, but an offensive rebound driving to the lane as Humphries. He can't get to go.
And I think they called a foul.
Maybe a foul on
Maybe why
Seattle.
he couldn't go. Yeah, you can't blame you doing something. This stream just froze on us. And you're not doing nothing. So.
And again, it may still be. It may be my computer's because I wonder
that very well
that.
could be.
It could be one or the other at any time. Like I said, I'm
It
not.
looked like it was on Humphrey because he would draw on the foul and send him to the line. So I'm not sure. Again, we're having to mute it, so we don't have the great video feed or the audio to figure out what happened there. But
we got Humphries here, top of the key, trying to find someone to throw it inside to. Now he has to just back it up. Now trying to create space to drive in there. He kicks it out to Cash. I told you, man, I'm such an idiot. 3-pointer by Humphrey. Rebound is rattling in, no good. And CLU finally is able to corral the rebound. Driving into the paint and nearly getting it, but blocked his shot. And the Mavericks are trying to push the ball. Now here, going to try to get into Cash. Was it knocked out of bounds there?
yeah, it looked like it. Mavs will retain possession. Hey, if you'll scroll to the Seattle roster, the guy with the hair, I'm drawing a blank. Say Riley. We'll just call him Riley. Riley was going up for the layup there, but it was blocked. So that was a nice job defensively, and they're going to need a few more of those the rest of the night.
Few fakes here, and then a put-up shot. Back rim, no good by Brandon Walker. He kept trying to find room to drive, but he gets the offensive rebound, and now trying to post up here, kick it out to Cash. 3-pointer off the blackboard, no good.
Man, this is cold shooting tonight for the Mavericks, and yeah, they've got to be able to find that in second gear, because when you're trailing 15, and you can't rely strictly on defense.
At the top of the key is Riley. Tries to drive it inside here, kicks it back out to Dawson. Inbound shot is almost knocked away, and now we may have a foul on the Mavericks.
Yep. Right now, the Mavericks are shooting 32.5% from the field. Seattle's not doing terribly much better. They're only 41.2, but they're still shooting over 50% from behind the three, and that's your difference right there. So there's no interior game pretty much right now for either side.
4 fouls on the Mavericks so far to the second half compared to only 2 for CLU, and that's a bit of an anomaly. If you say the one thing about this UTA team throughout the season, they don't foul very often.
Here lately, though, under Snoop Johnson's tenure, the SFA game stood out pretty hard as well, but they've been getting more fouls called. I don't think it's a change in style of play. I'm not certain what's going on, but it just seems to be the Mavs aren't getting a lot of favorite calls lately.
Going baseline here, but not able to get the shot, but the rebound is there. It was I'm pretty sure Grigsby may have had a hand in that, but I think we finally got a foul on UTA that's, if it's done to someone to the line, I'm not surprised, it is going to be, say, Riley himself.
Yeah, and that was clearly a foul. He got tapped going on the way up. Credit to him. He's getting a couple offensive rebounds, and that's usually what's going to happen when you get 2-3 offensive rebounds in a row like that, is eventually somebody's going to slip up as they're going for the ball or the block.
Makes the first free throw, and I think that's the first score by either side in quite a while, to be perfectly honest. That makes it 47-31. Is he going to make it 48 here? Yes, he does. Able to convert on both of those free throws. Just less than 14 and a half minutes to go in this game now. Kendall Weaver they swing it around the arc to the right side. Drawing a double team here as he's trying to find room to drive. Now he decides to take it himself into the paint. Fadeaway shot does not go in. That was Pedro Castro on the shot. Offensive rebound by Cash. He still can't get the follow-up to go in.
And they're not getting some of the same calls. And I don't know that was blatant like the last time the Mavericks got called for it, but it looked like there was contact. Oh.
And there's a foul. Terrace Dawson was trying to draw for the line. He ends up drawing it.
Well, and it's, again, we saw the way that looked. It's called a block on Cash, and that's fine. But right as the contact was made, you also saw the offender push his hand out. And, you know, they're getting to the point now where you almost can't defend anymore in certain situations. If you're pushing with your hand, that's by the textbook a foul. So there's got to be a give and take there in some form or fashion. You got to be able to legitimately allow it to guard. And in the NCAA, that's just not happening.
Missed shot there by Grigsby. Another fight for the foul, for the rebound, and it looks like this time we get the foul on Seattle U.
It hit the I don't even know what to call it. The bar holding the goal up attached to the roof, and so by nature, it's like when it hits the top of the backboard, it's out of bounds. So
yeah, this again, we talked so much about this building, and that's one of the things about it is this is one of those places where the goals are suspended from the roof. Now, for the record, Cameron Indoor has that same exact situation, so and that's regarded as one of the most classic facilities in all of college basketball.
It also seats more than 1,000.
And that is true as well. As Brandon Talbot has it top of the key, draws a double team, has to keep fighting inside, but he finds a wide open inside for the easy layup is Pedro Castro, and finally manages to break the drop for the Mavericks.
Seattle was caught up in that double team at the top of the key. Pedro just kind of snuck along the back of the baseline and was left unaccounted for and was pleading to get the ball in his hands.
No room to drive here for Brandon Chatfield. Gives it off to Schumacher. He tries to go baseline, kicks it out to the corner, swinging out to the left side. Three-pointer there is rattled in and out, no good. There's a fight for the rebound by Chatfield, and I think he may have drawn another foul. And that may actually put UTA in the over the limit and into the bonus for Seattle U with just a little less than 13 minutes
I would
to
love
go
to
in
see
this
a
game.
replay, but it looked like Brandon Walker had the perfect position, and he was getting tugged on. And just because the other guy went to the floor, that's because he was off balance. And I saw this yesterday. The announcers made a point to say it in the UTA women's game against SFA, that just because somebody hits the floor doesn't automatically make it a foul. And that's what it looked like that happened.
Meanwhile, Brandon Chatfield's able to hit the front end of the 1-and-1 to make it a 49-33 game for the Mavericks. So he's got the second shot coming here.
And we're looking at a foul disparity of 7-2. And I just don't see a scenario, and generally in basketball, where there's that big of a difference between the teams. We're almost to the second media break. That's ridiculous.
Does convert on the second shot, 50-33. Seattle U over Arlington. Talbot's going to try a long three-pointer, and it rattles in and out, no good.
And it's just not the Mavericks shooting night. I mean, they've done a decent job defensively. 50 to this point from the Red Hawks' perspective, that's not terrible. The three-point obviously could improve, but the offense just has to start making them.
This is M.I. Udoni, swings around the arc, driving into the paint, lobs it way inside, does not connect. The layup is Brandon Chatfield, and he tries another putback, still doesn't get it, but another foul here. I believe that foul is on Pedro Castro.
Yeah, and there was opportunities, but right now the Mavericks are just way undersized inside. And this is what I got to wonder is just how good this team would be if Shamar were healthy and in the lineup, because he's one of the best offensive rebounders in the country statistically this year, but he's also, a force inside. And right now they're just getting a lot of easy looks at the basket.
And Chatfield again at the free throw line is able to convert on that first shot.
16 of 18 from the charity stripe.
Coming here from the Strahan Coliseum's mini-me on the campus of Seattle University.
Meanwhile, the Mavericks are 3-6. And how about that disparity? 6 trips to the line for the Mavericks compared to the 18 for Seattle.
Let's at least get this that way. If the two of us actually lived up there and ended up going to Seattle U, we would probably be doing whatever we can to try to defend this place, because we were always in defense of Texas Hall back when we played there.
Texas Hall was a great home court environment. I still stand by that to this day with UTA playing in the Taj Mahal, as Coach Cross called it. But, the thing about that was a nice offensive rebound there by Kendall.
Yeah,
just can't get the ball to roll.
They're fighting on defense and rebounding, but they just cannot make shots in this second half, especially.
Yeah, they haven't even hit the 10-point. See, right there, that was a push-off. You saw his hand extend. You saw Marion in the air because of it fall backwards. That should be a foul.
Mavericks trailed in the second half by as many as 12 points. Got it down as low as 3, as I believe. It is now a 21-point lead for Seattle U over UT-Arlington. Like I said, let's see if I can bring up WAC standings here. See what this is going on.
Brandon Walker misses the 3. Let's just get, at this point it is what it is. It looks like Tyson with another 3-point attempt falls just short. Brandon Walker grabbing the rebound.
But the only thing you really say is that, of course, everyone is essentially 0-0 once the tournament starts, so you've got that much.
Man, and get another ball in and out. We've had me and my family have called it the Maverick bounce, where it looks like it might want to fall, and it kind of goes in and out a little bit. Timeout on the floor by Seattle brings us to the second media timeout of the half. It's a 54-33 score. Seattle in front here on the Rowdy Sports Radio Network.
Like I said, Seattle U came into this game more or less tied with Grand Canyon for 5th at 10-7 on the
right
conference
now,
season.
By the resume seeding, Seattle's actually in 3rd place at the moment. If the standings hold and the resume seedings are going to stay as they are, UTA is going to open up with Grand Canyon, which is ironic because the women are going to open up against Grand Canyon. And their side is the 6th seed. Well, I'm sorry, not as the 6th seed. They are the 6th seed. They're going to have a quarterfinal matchup against Seattle. If they beat Seattle, then they're playing Grand Canyon. Let me make sure I get that part right. But this game is kind of again a microcosm of the struggles this year. When they don't do well, it's because and again that's basketball. You don't shoot well, you don't do well as a rule. But they're again just going cold from the floor. They're back under 39%. Seattle again not doing terribly better at a 37%, and their 3-pointers now dip below 50. But they still made 8 of 17 from behind the arc, and the Mavericks are 2 of 17.
How about you try to explain this for just for myself and the audience? What exactly is this resume standings?
So again, it's a little confusing, but go to the WAC website.
I'm at WAC Sports.
Yeah,
right now.
I'm sorry, to the men's basketball. This format doesn't look familiar, but what it does is an effort to try to see the teams based on their overall resume, if you will. So what that means is a team like Sam Houston, they had a great non-conference showing by beating Oklahoma and Utah, and they came up close against another Power 5 school, I believe. And so they have a pretty high net ranking, and net ranking is replacing the old RPI, which is how you rank every team in the NCAA. Click on the little down arrow right there by the men's basketball. Rack resume seeding. There you go. And so what they do is they use the net seedings and wins and losses, and a home loss hurts your standings. A road win helps your standings, or a home win helps it a little bit. So stuff like that. So like for example, when UTA beat SFA in San Francisco, they got a huge bump in the resume seeding. So.
And yet, sadly, according to this, UTA is still last in that seeding.
Because they had a lot of terrible losses.
Yeah, but for what it's worth, who knows what this is, one of the main reasons why they definitely are dead last is, well, technically they're second to last. But that's only because New Mexico State, for those not aware, forfeited the rest of their season due to that very unfortunate situations that happened with the program involving a shootout that occurred one way or the other, and just... There's a lot of stuff, bad stuff going on.
I'll resume the resume seeding, but plays picked up back in and get Chris. And
I'll turn it back over to you. It is like a 20-point game as it is. So at this point,
make it more.
Now there's another shot there to make it 50. I don't know if they even changed it yet. Who knows? But anyway, like I said, we're just gonna play it by ear here for the rest of the period here. But yeah, I said just a really bad situation for New Mexico State, who I think they also were planning on leaving the WAC anyway, along with Sam Houston.
They're going to the same spot in Conference USA, and you couldn't have left it more. No, they dominated this conference the last years, as they should have, considering where their basketball program is and was, compared to who was brought in many cases Division II call-ups. But the irony for all this is, whenever they had the problems, it was under a first-year coach. They didn't do an international search. They basically said, "Hey, anybody bring in your resume," and they hired a guy who won down at the junior college level, and that was the extent of it. But he had pretty much no control over his program. And there's even rumors that coaches actually helped hide evidence in that New Mexico State pregame shootout. So there's just a whole lot of issues. Hazing involving sexual assault type allegations. So it's a mess down there right now. The good news is, though, New Mexico State, you've got history, you've got tradition, you've got support. So that should be an appealing job for somebody to take over, but it's not going to be your typical, hey, we lost our winning coach to a bigger school. Let's retool.
Let's just say I don't think they're going to be going after Chris Beard though.
Probably not. That's a lot of the same problems right there. But back to the resume seeding. So the top 12 teams were going to be in the tournament based on the standings. So even though New Mexico State, let's say they still had their troubles and they stayed below, they stayed at 13th, which is who knows what would have happened. But let's just for hypothetically say they would have. So the 13th team in the standings doesn't make it in, regardless of where the resume seeding is. So the conference standings determine who got in. Now, when you're talking about 12 or 13, that means don't be last. And so right now, UTA is ahead of New Mexico State, UT-RGV, Utah Tech, and Abilene Christian in the standings. But because of the resume seeding, they're last. So that means they're going to open up against the 5th seeded team. And again, what happened in non-conference was pretty rough, other than the San Francisco game, which I still don't know how they pulled that off and won wire to wire.
And all of this, and all of this is kind of just going back to me saying, why can't the NCAA just at least somewhat simplify things? And I've always said to try and just go with a whole coefficient system that UEFA uses with European soccer. For those not aware what it is, I'll try to simplify that as best as possible because I'm gonna admit maybe even I'm not completely certain of what it is. But basically, first off, there's a set limit on how many clubs in one particular national league in UEFA can send to the Champions League. Yeah. No league in European soccer can send more than 4 clubs into the UEFA Champions League. And I think, we just got a foul on a 3-point shot attempt. That's as if everything just... nothing is going the Mavericks' way in this game.
I mean, I don't know what more. Like, again, I get it. Like, foul's a foul and all that. But when you, there was supposed to be a rule against flopping, and that wasn't a flop by the truest definition. But that was definitely a sold, and they finally missed a free throw.
Yeah.
Just the third of the night. But I mean, that was not a clean foul, if you will. And it's like at this point, with such a disparity, we're now 9-2. And
now, for what's worth, that's 2 out of 3 free throws missed now on this shot.
And that's by the guy who couldn't miss from 3-point at the first half, Tyson.
Anyway, as I was saying, the main thing about the coefficient system in Europe, there's a set number of leagues can only have that maximum number. Like I think 3 or 4 leagues, only 3 or 4 club leagues can have the maximum of 4 clubs into the UEFA Champions League.
Montez with a slam and a foul.
Got a slam dunk there by Montez, and he'll go to the line to probably try to chip into this lead. The main thing is that UEFA uses this whole type of coefficient system that basically ranks every national league within UEFA, basically by the team's overall performances, not just their own wins within their league, but how they do, especially in the international competitions like the UEFA League and the the Europa League and the Champions League and everything on that. So you're ranked by how the entire league does, and you go. That's the main thing. At the very least, it's a set system in place that assures every league goes into each season knowing exactly what they have to do to qualify for the UEFA Champions League or the UEFA Europa League, which I've always said that's pretty much European soccer's equivalent of the NIT in there. And that just makes it just so much simpler, and just why there isn't anywhere close to the arguments that go on even at the end of the college basketball season and the bull crap that goes on to who gets in and who doesn't. And that's why I've always said, just started to irk me that the UTA, after winning 25 games in the regular season conference championship in 2017, were denied.
Technically 23, but yeah, I'm right
23,
there.
20. Were still denied an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament. And I'll say this. I mean, if they had gotten into
23 regular season wins, 1 conference tournament win.
Right?
Sorry,
Yeah.
There we go.
No. But anyway, basically, what I was saying was, but let's face it. If they had made the NCAA tournament that year, Scott Cross would probably still be in Arlington.
Oh, yeah. And not just that, but there's a really, really high chance they could have won a game in that tournament.
Oh.
I mean, they finished the RPI at 40.
Well, that was a club. You got to remember, that last 2 years, They went to Ohio State and got a win.
Yep.
They went to
Memphis
got a
Texas,
win.
St.
They
Mary's.
win. They got a win against St. Mary's, who I think was ranked number 9 in the country
See,
going
right
into
there,
that game.
he's flicking his hands, which allowed him to get by Montez. That is a foul. You cannot use your hand and swipe away the defender.
And
push
then he
off
draws
of
the
him.
foul there on the layup as well.
And it's not just this game, and it's not a Maverick bias. My frustration is I've just seen it all year long. And now we've just turned this into we're driving and we're calling a foul. I mean, that's the 10th foul on UTA, 3 on Seattle. I mean, we've seen this just too many times the last few games.
And this is why, I guess your point, Tom, where you almost wish that they'd go to what high school football does and just have a continuous running clock.
No, it's not that. Just put your whistle away.
Yeah.
Like, let them play at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about ticky-tack stuff. And when we're talking about a 20
I will say
deficit,
this much. Yes, on one side that would be great as far as being able to keep the game going now at that point and not just completely slowing down what is a pretty much blowout game. On the other hand, what kind of makes me worry is that if they start letting people get away with stuff, it might start getting more and more physical.
See, like right there, he pushed off.
Yeah.
You saw Cash raise his hand.
Yeah, they might. Well, you got to worry about how much before the physicality starts getting more and more.
Right.
And you get into a situation like what I had to watch between Martin and Louisville in that second round game last Friday. I mean, it was so bad. I actually missed the ending of that game because they ended with a go-ahead layup with 8 seconds left. I walked out of that building before they even made the announcement of all those other players getting ejected, just because I had a bad gut feeling that as vicious as those players were getting at each other, it might have gotten ugly between the fans in the parking lot outside.
Yep.
And I was thinking, you know what? I just don't want to deal with that anymore.
Yep.
Kind of reminded me of, because I don't know what, like, even for example, I don't know exactly what announcements were made regarding this and everything, but I remember when I went and saw Martin play against Sam Houston High earlier this year. Like, this was at our building, and as the game was coming to an end, it was announced that we were asked as the home fans to stay in the building and stay in our seats in our end of the stadium until the visitor side had completely filed out. And for the record, it was only against that team.
Well, I remember when we were broadcasting football games back in the day, and Brandon Talbot three-pointer off again, just microcosm of the night.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a shooting in the parking lot while we were doing the post-game show, and of course I didn't know it, but I read the police report and was like, holy cow. Yeah, so they
and that was at Maverick Stadium, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's in Arlington, Texas, the place that my parents moved us into because she was afraid I was going to get shot if I went to Eastern Hills High School in Fort Worth.
Yep. And Seattle makes the 3.
That's a 64-35 lead now for the Red Hawks over the Mavericks. Just continuing to see that giant flexing bird just staring right at, almost like staring right at the camera right now at this point.
Yeah. I guess we knocked it out of bounds. At least that wasn't a foul. Right now, the defense doesn't look like they're inspired. The offense looks like they're struggling. We got open shots.
They're not making
another
them those
offensive
spots still, but they managed to knock it away, and they managed to get a board there. And I saw that turnover coming, but they got it again.
Yeah, they tried a little pass out. Kendall.
Got it at least. 64-38. Just, yeah, this has got to be a tough one. Just the fact that you had to travel 2,000 miles to get a place like this, and you completely dominated, and now you got to go back to Arlington to start getting prepared to make another trip all the way into Las Vegas for the tournament.
Free throw disparity, 3 of 7 for the Mavericks, 21 of 25 for Seattle.
Well, I want to remind you guys, anyone watching, that we will be back to our regular video playing probably, and Aaron Cash is now fouled out of the game, actually, now, as I get checking on the Twitter feed as well, and that's pretty much just a microcosm of the entire game here. But like I said, might try to give you some Texas Rangers Major League Baseball a live stream cast maybe later on, as we hope to see just how possibly well the new rules in baseball are toward possibly speeding up the pace of the game. Which I'm going to admit this right now. You know, I've been one of the biggest baseball fans and Texas Rangers fans you've probably known for some time. But even me, especially there's been a number of reasons that I've kind of find it more and more difficult to be inspired to go out to the ballpark. One is the team did a lot of stuff that I wasn't really proud of. One is the fact that this new place, it's not as enticing and friendly as at least I thought it was. Like I said this, I don't think you hear when I say this. I do wonder why I'm so upset over this particular
Cash
one.
just fouled out.
Yeah, I just said that. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
No, but just the fact that, like I said, I never liked the fact when we lost Reunion Arena, but the AAC hasn't never annoyed me as much as the Country Club Stadium, Globe Life Field, going to its official title, annoyed me from leaving the ballpark for that. So I do wonder about that. But again, as I was about to get to is, one of the things that it did, the game of baseball definitely had gotten to a point where the pace and speed and time of the game was starting to get to me as well.
Yeah.
And I've said this, even for the past 30 years or so that I have been almost religiously watching baseball, I've heard those complaints from so many people going back even to like the 2000s, early 2000s, maybe even before that. There were just so many people that didn't like the idea of baseball games lasting close to 3.5 hours and stuff there.
And see, that part I can at least have some understanding about. Because remember, back in the day when these games were, invented and stuff like that, we didn't have these excessive timeouts, stoppages in play, things of that nature.
Well, that's the big arguments that I keep going to. Everyone said the number one argument from people who don't like the rules changes is that you want the games to go faster. Stop having so many damn commercial breaks.
Right.
But
that will not happen.
Well, no. Well, it could. But here's the thing: the number one reason there are many more commercial breaks now is there are so many more pitching changes in the game now. Which again, that just goes back to one of the reasons the games are taking so long is the actions.
See, there's a push-off right there on Montez getting spiked. How do you want them to defend that? Because you're going to call a foul if they try.
And it's the actions of the players and the coaches that are causing it. And I said this. I just recently decided to make a comparison between two different games.
Yep.
I looked at Game 5 of the 1969 World Series, Mets against the Baltimore Orioles that year, and then lined it up against Game 5 of the 2016 World Series, Cleveland against the Cubs there. Now, I cut out all of the commercial breaks from both of those games, made sure pregame and postgame were removed as well. Tried to make it as close to first pitch or players taking the field to the last pitch of the game. Even
about the same.
No, even removing all of that out, the 2016 game was still 43 minutes longer.
So what happened with the pitching changes? What's the? I mean, obviously there's going to be more. How many were there compared?
You know what? I didn't see how many changes were in the 2016 game.
You just didn't measure it.
Yeah, like I said, because I just took out the amount of time those pitching changes would have taken.
Yeah.
Anyway, now I'm pretty sure in '69 the Mets pitcher went the distance to clinch that game. I think they may have the Orioles brought in a guy for the last 2 innings or so. But the main point I'm getting here is that even when you take that out, at least for that brief example, the games in baseball nowadays are just taking longer. Yeah. And it goes to what other people are saying that I think was really the case. And case there is, you got just players taking so much time, way too more time in the middle of the game. the headers having to constantly step in and out of the box and doing all of their Nomar Garcia Parra little superstition things going in before they step in for every pitch. You've got pitchers having to throw to first base a half dozen times between pitches. And I was in those stands for so many of those games, and I heard the boos raining down by the fans. You just don't. Basically, it gets to a point where they think they want to be like they're in a Monty Python sketch and yell, "Get on with it!" Like there. And that's what I think that. This may be heresy to say, but some of the things that that the commissioner, this new commissioner is doing, Rob Manfred is doing, I can't be clearly against. Yeah, I don't like the idea of the runner on second in extra innings. I don't think that's absolutely needed.
Yeah.
But I do think that just these little things to try and help pick up the pace of the game that I think weren't needed because the players weren't doing all of this stuff 50 or plus years ago. Obviously, something had changed and something needed to get better. Like I said, if we ever come back again, I might show you the like I said, the Esquire magazine article. I said, well, they actually looked into it, and I'm almost certain if I showed that article to some of these other people, they'd automatically want to dismiss it because it's Esquire magazine. Because they said because that's the one complaint they're doing is supposedly Manfred and company are listening to supposedly people who didn't play the game or weren't watching the game. But all that the article is doing was just stating the facts that in this past year in the minor leagues, so you get almost dunked there, but it doesn't go in anyway. There's a kick out for a 3-pointer by Weaver, and that at least he was able to hit that kaboom. But that will make it 69-45, I believe, in there.
Yeah, 24-point differential. Can't hit the double-digit mark.
But anyway, as I was saying, when they experimented with these more stringent pitch clock rules in the minor leagues last season, the reaction from the fans, it's probably a missed travel call there, was generally positive. Like I said, what the article did say, and man, the look on Weaver's face just said that all there. They make that 3-pointer there. Said the result was more people were going to games, more people were staying until the end of the games, and this was the one thing that surprised a lot of people, even the owners. More people were buying concessions. Like that's one of the big arguments I kept getting into with the people were trying to tell me on Facebook and the like, where they said, "Yo, the shorter games mean fewer concessions are going to be sold, so they're going to jack up the price on them again and stuff." And yeah, but again, the actual evidence from what happened in the minor leagues shows no, actually the opposite happened. People were buying more hot dogs and beer.
Oh wow, we got an and one.
So yeah, the and one there. So we get 72-47. So we got another timeout coming here.
I think this is the last one. Last of the half, the media timeouts.
I mean, I just look at it, maybe at least for the start, there might be some times where a guy strikes out because he didn't get into the box soon enough.
Yeah.
But is that going to be that much more frustrating than losing a possession in basketball because the shot clock ran out?
Yeah.
Sometimes it just happens, and I do think that I'm good. Let me see if I can bring it up.
By the way, my wife just commented she's watching the same broadcast we are. I can't believe this is a collegiate gym.
Okay, well.
And I came unprompted. It's, hey, what do you think of this facility or whatever?
All right. So I'm going to bring up this Esquire article because it actually does also quote a former Major League All-Star, Raul Ibanez, who apparently did actually give his take on it when he actually started watching. Let me see here.
Yeah, for the most part, I'm not terribly upset with the rule changes. I know we talked about this earlier this year. I'm still kind of upset with the shift ban. We were talking about that before the broadcast started. Your opinion is you'll adjust and all that kind of stuff. My thing is like, as a manager, your job is to put your team in a position to win. And so if you don't like the shift, hit it the other way.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going back to. I've actually, that's it. I've been following one former Major League player on social media for some time now, and that was actually former Texas Rangers Jeff Fry, who I think actually lives here in Fort Worth now as well. And he's been basically making his opinions on the state of the game very well known over the last couple of years. And some of the stuff I agree with him on. His real problem is you rely too heavy on analytics and everything. He doesn't care about that. But the one thing that's kind of we've been going back and forth on was what was these rules changes. Like I said, he's one of those guys who says, yeah, players just need to learn to hit the opposite way if you can't beat a shift and stuff. But then he goes and says stuff like how you don't know how difficult hitting is when you can actually expect a player should have to be able to get ready to be in the box in less than 10 seconds and stuff. Like, we can demand players automatically have to learn a way to completely change their hitting approach to go the opposite way, but we can't expect players to be able to get in the box earlier and stuff. That's kind of I don't want, maybe, if not hypocrisy, then just contradiction, maybe. That's what I'm trying to put here. But as we were looking at 3.5 minutes ago in this game with UTA trailing Seattle U 72-48, here's the quote from Raul Ibanez when he said when he went to see his first pitch clock game. I was really surprised. I look at the game from the perspective of a player, and as a player, change is hard. Anytime anything changes, it upsets us. But it only took me 5 minutes of watching to make me go, this isn't new, this is old. It reminded me of the pace of play when George Brett played for the Royals and Reggie Jackson played for the Yankees. It reminded me of the early 1990s when Roberto Alomar and Paul Molitor were playing for the Blue Jays. The game just moved like it used to be. Yep. So for someone like that, to finally admit that, hey, that maybe there is something to that, and that's what I keep saying. I've had to deal with so many people saying just leave the game the way it always is, but the fact is, over the last 30, 40 years, the game hadn't been what it always was.
Yep.
And it just...
Yeah, it slowed down tremendously. There's just no question about it.
And to be fair, as we get a steal and a
steal, he knocked Cornish over, like...
Mm-hmm. But just so you know, I'm completely fair on this. I would be in favor of anything that picks up the pace in just about any sport whatsoever. I think I may have said this earlier, even on basketball and just every level. I would be completely, I'll say this, the thing that's always irked me about basketball, in just about every level, except maybe high school because I'm just now getting into that, is how, no matter the situation, the last 2 minutes of almost every game gets dragged on to about 10 minutes or so of nothing but almost free throw shooting.
Yep.
And free throw shooting and jacked up 3-pointers, which is why I would be more than accepting of if they actually did finally full-time bring in the rule where if you're in the bonus and you get fouled, you can choose.
Oh, look, what I've been saying all game about the hand checks and all the kind of finally called.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You can choose to just inbound the ball after getting fouled instead of taking the free throws.
I might modify that rule if the lead's above 10. Yeah. Because the thing is there's a legitimate opportunity, however small, but that strategy can help you get to where you need to get.
Well, first of all, let's add to what I was going to say. I was saying, not only that, I would actually suggest that if a player is if a team draws a foul in the bonus and it's not a shooting foul, then I would go so far as to say if they choose to take the free throws, they get to choose anybody who's currently on the floor to take the free throws. So now then, you can't just, especially go the extra mile of fouling someone you know is a bad free throw shooter to help that. But I'm just of the mindset of if you have a problem with the fact that you're down 7 with less than a minute to go, and you can't stall the clock to foul to try to get back in there. Well, you know what my thing is? You should have played better in the first 39 minutes to not get yourself in that situation.
And I understand that, but I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of trying to get back in. And you got a great 3-point shooter, whatever, but you still have to stop on the other. Like it's just a genuine strategy. Kind of the same to me of the shift that we were mentioning in baseball. If it's a legitimate strategy, that's one thing. I'm on the fence. Your points are valid. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that they're not, that you're wrong, nothing like that.
Yeah.
But I'm just seeing the other end, and I get frustrated with that pace.
Yeah.
So I certainly get it. But on the other end, I understand the coaching chess game.
Yeah. Well, I've always been. Like I said, it basically goes to the fact that, I go back and forth where I've always been a guy who believes that coaching matters in sports more than a lot of people want to give it credit for.
Yep.
However, I'm in the belief that a coach's time is in practice. I want to say the coach's job is to get the players ready for the game, and then once the game actually starts and they throw that ball in there, then it should be as much in the player's hands as possible. Which is one of the reasons why I love soccer, because the way soccer is set up with its style and its rules, the coaches can actually do very, very little within the game itself as far as calling plays, stopping the clock. They almost can't do that very much. And even this, I have never been a huge fan of American football.
Right.
But that being said, I give some things, like I'll tell you at least one of the more recent games I actually did go to. And it was another high school game, Martin against Bowie High School.
Yep.
And basically, for those not aware, the UIL and Texas high school football does have a rule that if a game turns into a blowout, in the second half, they go to a constantly moving clock.
Yep.
Well, Martin Star just ran away with this game. Like it wasn't as bad as some other moves. Another one.
The same defensive foul that I'm saying they weren't calling, called for the second possession in a row. Funny how that works.
It's a 76-50 game with 1:14 to go for the Mavericks. Mavericks trailing CLU, by the way. But anyway, listen. Martin just ran away with this game, so they went to a running clock in the second half, and that second half just moved along so much better and stuff.
And this thing is in a pure, lopsided situation. I'm 100% good with that. My only concern is your opportunities to come back, because I've seen a game where they didn't make their free throws and the other team came back and won. So it is a legitimate opportunity to get ahead.
Right. I mean, I'm not. It's always been a situation where I'm not going to deny the possibility of strategically how it can work.
DeMond Woods was the player that I was thinking of, not Cornish from earlier.
But again, it's kind of the same time where I think you put yourself at risk where a coach's strategy of winning the game affects the fans' ability to enjoy the game. And ultimately...
And here's to your point. Why is Seattle calling a timeout right now?
Yeah. And that's why I've never liked the strategy of if you're up by 3 and on defense, they say just foul and now give them a chance to shoot a three-pointer. Yeah. That to me is cheating the fans. True. Because the fans want to see just teams playing and
it is a good strategy.
Yeah, it's a good strategy, but it hurts the people. It does hurt the people who, one way or the other, are responsible for you being able to play at all with their paying tickets and everything.
Cash Clayton on the floor. I don't know that I've seen him play all year.
We've got the opportunity now from the last.
And I didn't watch the non-Division I games for the record.
Yeah. So, anyways, lob pass there, and the layup is good. So, but that's what I'm saying. As far as maybe because I call myself a football idiot, so you don't want to listen to listen to what I'm saying. I can understand that, but I would be in favor of. I mean, at best, end the practice of stopping the clock on an incomplete pass.
Yeah.
But at the very least, if there is any stoppage of play at all, start the clock back up once the ball is spotted and not when the ball is snapped.
On an incomplete pass, maybe. That's part of the strategy, though, associated with it is going around the rules. But all of a sudden, UTA is going to the free throw line. DeMond Woods is 3 of 3, and now Cornish lays down 2. So you're looking at the bench guys getting to the line 5 times when our starters got to 7 in the first 35 minutes.
Yeah, and I've also said the one. I've also said that one rule change would be if you. I'm trying to sum this up there. If you go out of bounds without being physically forced in, you lose the down and go back to the previous spot. You cannot gain yardage by going out of bounds. Which that just keep in mind, American football is literally the only sport in the world where you don't lose possession completely from stepping out of bounds in there. And the fact that you change that rule.
Well, it depends on how you define it. If a basketball player's foot's on the line, he's out, right?
Yeah.
If a soccer player's foot's on the line, is he out?
The ball has to go completely out.
And that's my point. Yeah. So how you define out is specific to your sport.
Well, yeah, exactly. How it's defined is one way or the other. Fact is, one way or the other, if you get called for out of bounds, as they are rounding out this clock, and it is an 80-56 final score. Seattle U defeats UT-Arlington. Seattle moves to 20. They get their 20th win of the season, I believe. UTA drops to 11 and 20 of the season. So I'll just try to finish this up. What I was saying here is that, yeah, if you take away it, whether or not the status of what qualifies as out of bounds is one thing, but the bottom line is in every sport except football, the penalty for going out of bounds, whatever that might be, is you lose the ball. Like
Well, no. Again, it's every sport has it defined a little bit differently. Right. You know, if you go out of bounds on track, you're disqualified completely. So if you want to put the track marker in there, then you step out of bounds, your team loses. Like, you know, so how you define it's how you define it for the sport.
Perhaps
for football, it works out well for me just because that's the strategy for those scenarios is you get out of bounds.
Okay, I'll give it one way or the other. Every sport except American football, there is a legit negative penalty as a result of it. Because it's gotten to a point where...
if you're the defense trying to run out the clock and they go out of bounds, that seems like a negative penalty to me. Again, that's part of the strategy. Don't let them get out of bounds. Have you ever heard of the term prevent defense? You put people up on the side, prevent them from going out of bounds.
Yeah, perhaps.
So, again, there's how it's the perspective of everything.
Well, yeah, but just it just goes to the fact that anything will help speed up the pace of the game.
I mean, by that logic, a foul ball should be an out.
And I think
but that's not... Isn't that not part of the strategy? A great batter fouling it off until he gets to the pitch that he wants.
Perhaps.
So, like I said, it's how each sport defines. That's how I look at it. And I understand your frustration with it.
Yeah, it just goes back to basically what my point being is, regardless of the sport, anything, even if it's because of team strategy or whatnot, anything that causes games to be dragged out as long as possible, I am definitely in favor of anything that might possibly be done to fix that situation. And I think that's one reason why I think more and more people are gravitating to a sport like soccer there, because the fact of the matter is that a soccer game's going to finish in less than 2 hours.
You don't know when it's done, though. Like, we can play that game because you got your extra time. That's a secret to only the ref.
I will grant you that. That is one thing that kind of... If anything, the fact that irks me is the fact that at least the in-stadium scoreboards almost never post the stoppage time at self-counting up as well.
And even the players don't know. Like, the game's over, ref said it,
I will grant
with this basketball game, you know when it's over.
Yeah.
That's why these late shots to win a game, that's why they mean something, because that's what you're playing for.
I'll grant you that it could be handled better, at least. There could be room for improvement there. But again, at least much of the real-time game in a sport like soccer is the actual in-game action, and you have a general good idea of how long the game itself is going to last. Because even when you have a sport like American football where there's 60 minutes of set minutes of game time, but you have no idea if it's going to last 3 hours or 4 and everything, that can be kind of frustrating. But I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for us on this edition of Ugly American Sports on Rowdy Live. Reminder, we'll try to bring back the live stream next week, and who knows what I'll be able to put in there. We're just trying to see we're throwing stuff on the wall and see what sticks for the most part. Hope maybe one day I'll find ways to bring my colleague back here. Maybe we'll try to see how much faster pace Major League Baseball games will be going with some Friday live streams of Texas Rangers or MLB games as well.
I might be interested in that, honestly. Just because I've kind of been out on baseball for some of the same reasons you have. Firing a Nolan Ryan was certainly discouraging, and then letting the guys who built your team to the contenders go thinking you're smarter than the average person.
I will say that, I'll say I'm still on the fence as to whether or not this Rangers team is actually going to be good.
Probably
because
not.
I've seen this played before 20 years ago when they tried the quick fix by signing huge free agents, and that almost never works. But at the same time, like I said, just
Well, they're
these
playing air conditioning now, so...
Yeah, let's not that is a subject for another time. Maybe we'll talk about that one day.
Offsides?
Yeah, but whatever. The main thing I was saying is that, yeah, at the very least, there's two reasons why I at least decided to get a mini pack for this year. One was, I think I at least need to try to go back to my roots and find something that did bring me joy and happiness as a younger person.
Yep.
But the announcements about these new rules changes, it's actually got me a bit more fired up.
I think so,
So we're going to wait and see if that works. But in the meantime, like I said, if you're in the North Texas area, start this weekend, definitely come out to check out Traders Village. I believe I'm in lot 1065. Be selling the Rowdy C shirts and copies of Quest Seekers the Wormstone. About in a couple of weeks, we'll be at All-Con Dallas doing the same. Hopefully to tune in for that as well. And in the meantime, reminder that we'll still be catching the this Monday we'll be releasing the next Patreon review of Barbie and the Rockers Out of This World. If you just join patreon.com/RowdyC Productions for as little as $1 a month, you'll be able to get access to that and early access to much more future videos. So thanks once again to Brandon Helms for joining us on this broadcast. I'm probably going to have to try and get as much sleep as possible before I head out to Traders Village tomorrow. Again, we'll be there Saturday and Sunday from probably opening from about 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Hope to see as many over there. Again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining.